Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Stories, hashtag Candid Conversations with my cousin. My name is Kim Brits and my wonderful co-host all the way from Fort Lauderdale. I still can't say it, a little Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Lauren, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, Kev. I know Fort Lauderdale, Florida is a little bit of a tongue twister, but I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. We have a bit of a crazy week here in the United States of America. So, but otherwise, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
How's South Africa?
South Africa's good. We are slowly. I think we are getting the hang of how to deal with COVID effectively. Like, it's a big statement, but I think people are really becoming aware, and a lot has changed in how we show up in our behavior. So
I'm sure.
But there are some reports on, if we don't be careful, we'll go back into lockdown. So I'm like, goodness, people, can we just avoid that at all costs? Like, let's be ridiculously anal about it, and let's just
yes.
Just clean your hands, put your mask on, and just keep to the rules.
Do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, but you got to do it.
And that's what I'm scared of, because South Africa's so much, like, besides the unemployment rate that we've had, COVID has just leveled us down to, like, bare minimums, and it's been really, really hard. So I know, the travel industries, and there's so many industries that have literally failed and closed because
tourism is a big one. Yeah, tourism is just crazy. So how it's affected.
But there's a whole bunch of crazy happening in America right now, because these sessions are pre-recorded. So we do, like, one of the, and the reason I mentioned that is because I know that we're recording before this election happening.
Yes, actually.
So how is, like, when you say crazy, what is the crazy happening? Like,
so I guess we're living in very interesting times, and this election, as everybody knows, is it's like one of the craziest elections we'll ever have, I think. Maybe in the whole world, I don't know. Maybe there's crazier ones, I'm not sure, but it's tomorrow's D-Day for elections. A lot of people have voted. They've had record votes this year already, because we have early voting. So early voting closed on Saturday. And so now, if you haven't voted, tomorrow's the day. So it's going to be great. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody really does. But I suspect that there's a lot of people out there that are very, very anxious at the moment for different reasons. One, some people believe, and I've been hearing people talking about it, saying it, oh my goodness, are you ready for next week's civil war? And I'm like, clearly I haven't been watching the news close enough, because I don't necessarily get my news from mainstream media per se. So, it's, some people are like, well, we'll just carry on as usual. We've seen crazy things before, we'll just keep on at it. And I guess it doesn't matter who wins. I don't think we'll know tomorrow or even within the week. I think it will take a few days at this point now to count the votes, which is not normally the case. Normally we know pretty quickly, but with all the mail-in voting that's been encouraged, that's going to take a lot of time. So we'll be going in tomorrow. I'll be going in to vote. I did not early vote, so I'll be traipsing up to the school tomorrow just to cast my votes. And also keep in mind that we vote for a lot of things. Interestingly enough, I already have my ballot. I wish I could show it to you, but apparently that's not legal. So I get to go through my ballot before I go drop it off at the voting station. There's 6 candidates for president and vice president, so that's 12. But the only 2 we talk about are the 2 at the top. And so one of the questions that has been posed recently is, why isn't everybody involved in the debate? Why only those 2, So that's an interesting question. And I might not know enough about, the inner workings of American politics to answer that question. But there's a lot of other things we'll be voting for: circuit court judges. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We've got amendments to the Constitution we've got to vote for. So it's actually something that you should get your ballot ahead of time and sit down and kind of study it, because, a lot of people vote party lines. And at this day and age, I don't think that's a good idea for me personally. So I like to sit down, go through my ballot, check out who's everybody, check out the amendments they're talking about, spend some time on it, and not just, sort of select whoever I feel or go party line. So we'll see what happens next week when we chat. I suspect we will not have a civil war, although I'm sure people are very aware that there's a little bit of unrest around us that is not good. It's not fun. And it's kind of the first time we're seeing it here lately,
It's really interesting because you kind of go, like, we're in 2020, right? No one expected even COVID to happen. And how do we even comprehend that a country like the United States would be in a predicament like civil war? Like, what the hell happened to the world, right? But, I think a lot of, and that's the thing about you saying that you take the time and read through the ballot and go through it and sort of see what are you voting for, and what makes sense, and how do you reflect on that, and what's important to you. I don't think a lot of people, and that's an assumption obviously, but a lot of people kind of just go what they see on their phone, and they go, oh yeah, I don't like that person because whatever reason, because they're exposed to that social media constantly. It's a barrage of information just from that skewed viewpoint. But I don't think a lot of people kind of take the time to kind of sit down and go, okay, cool, let's weigh this up.
No, I don't think they do. And I think you're right. I know that's a gross assumption. But, it's, I think you're right on that one. When I moved to America, and we can check the stats, but I remember looking up statistically and coming from South Africa where people were segregated. And we watched as people were not allowed to vote. It was the craziest thing. And then when they were allowed to vote, they stood for miles and miles in the hot sun to go vote. Here we are. We're like, oh, I just get to walk up the road to the school. I mean, it's not that difficult. And you can mail, and there's a number of ways to vote. So, it takes discipline. Is it fun? I mean, I have better things to do than, or at least funner things to do than sit and read a ballot for the day, or half a day. But it's important to me personally because of where I come from, to be honest. And I'm sure it's important to a lot of Americans. But when I first arrived here, the majority of Americans did not vote. It was a very small percentage that was pulling in whoever was winning, or whoever governs us today. But now we're getting record votes. And what I noticed during this time and during this election is suddenly there was more of a push in every direction. I don't know who it came from, but it was a push to vote and go and vote. And we were on the beach yesterday, Kevin, and I thought the Civil War was already starting because there were airplanes flying over the beach.
Goodness.
Absolute vodka. Your drink can wait. Go vote.
Wow.
I was like, are you kidding me? Right now it's Sunday, and he's flying overhead. And anyway, it was the end of early voting, so the ad was a bit late. But,
I was looking at the polls. Some of the polls that they have online now.
Those polls.
And what's interesting? I remember when this was happening with Hillary Clinton, everyone was so convinced. Like the polls were showing it. They were like, yeah, obviously, and yet it didn't swing that way, right? So
what are those polls saying actually? Who is winning the popular vote? Apparently,
the popular vote right now is Joe Biden to quite a few states. There are a lot of, and according to the poll, some of these polls, places like Pennsylvania have 5.6. A 5.6 lead in the polls, so by supposedly a large degree. Places like Michigan, places like Arizona, North Carolina, But then places like Iowa and Ohio are sort of leaning towards Trump.
And what
So
about Florida? Look in Florida for us.
Florida is Biden.
Really, that's
Florida
interesting.
is also, but by like a 1.8 percentage.
So it
So
is
it's quite close.
interesting. The way that Americans vote is through the Electoral College, actually. So in essence, I have actually voted prior to this. I voted for the candidate for the party that I would vote for. And you can change your vote. Who I voted for there could be different from who I vote for here. But the Electoral College is really what essentially determines the vote at the end of the day. That will come into the end. It's actually quite a complicated process. I think it's too complicated personally. They've made it so complicated that the layman, I've lived here 15 years and I still don't understand it completely.
Yeah.
And I've looked on purpose. So it's interesting, but you know what's weird is that often the popular vote is not the person that wins. So that's what we saw, like you said, with Hillary, right? She won the popular vote, and then Donald Trump came in and swooped everybody off their feet. And this has happened a few times in history. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious to see what happens, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think next week's going to be a really interesting conversation. So
Yeah, I mean, am I going to leave my house or am I not going to leave my house? You know, we'll see.
Exactly.
Self-quarantine all over again.
So Lols, the conversation I suggested we chat about this week is something that's I know that comes up for you, that we've spoken before about, but also I kind of went like, okay, well, if this is a topic of a conversation, is there supporting evidence to it? And that conversation being, how well do we choose our friends? And to me, it extends to how well do you choose your family? Because
and also very much who you choose to do business with and around. Yes, so that'll definitely extend your business world for sure.
So I just went online and sort of looked at, is there some kind of support to this question? And Forbes actually posted something in 2014. It's a little while back, but 5 scientific reasons you should choose your friends carefully. And I was like, wow. The very first thing that they have here is strong-willed friends can help increase your self-control. So now when you read it straight off the bat, you're kind of going, it's absolutely the truth. If you consider, the amount of times that you've been, and that's making friends with people who maybe they party a lot, and you're kind of trying to, I don't know, change your career or change a bit of your lifestyle, but your friends kind of have that kind of going for them. Very much or very easily, you get swayed by the fact that you kind of go, okay, but they're my friends. So then you kind of go, okay, well, is this actually helping me steer that strong will in where I want to go and how I want to do this? Like, do you agree with that statement? Because I think it's spot on.
It's such a great topic, really, for life, business, anywhere. And it's an interesting topic because it comes up against interesting beliefs that we have had to navigate ourselves through, such as family first, but your friends. So family and friends seem to, we've been told and indoctrinated and into this belief that family and friends are everything and they can do no wrong, apparently. So it's, and when you walk away from them, it's easy to be judged for that, because how dare you walk away from your family or your friends, really? What kind of person are you? Who would walk away from their family and friends? Well, there are a number of reasons why people would. And like you say, having strong-willed friends around is, to me, a very important factor. First of all, I'm a very ambitious person personally, but I got a rubber arm sometimes, and I like to party a little sometimes, and I like to go out, and sometimes I get lazy. And in order to have my business and my life and my mental strength where I want it and need it for my business, I really do have to surround myself with strong-willed people. That's very interesting. Something's ringing, but nothing's ringing.
Yes, I don't know where it is.
Did you get a phone call? Because I didn't get a phone call. My phone's on silent.
No.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. Technology, you gotta love it. The universe is calling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, I do agree with that. Do I think all your friends need to be that way? Probably not. I think you need a variety. Some people, you need some softer friends, but the strong-willed ones definitely keep me on my toes. And I'm not talking about strong personality. I'm talking about people who have a great deal of self-discipline. They'll push you to go to the gym. They'll push you to go to the meeting. They'll push you to go out of your comfort zone. They'll tell you when things are not looking great from their perspective over you. They offer straight advice. There's a lot of reasons to have strong-willed friends around. So I totally agree with that statement, even though I would say you also need other types of friends around.
And I think, like mentioning family, I had a incident when I was, I came out to my family and wasn't very supported by that because
I
of it.
remember this. Yes, I remember. And interestingly, I knew you would not be supported somehow.
Yeah, because we had this.
So we knew that.
But one of my friends actually said to me, "Do you know what? It doesn't really matter if your family doesn't support it. Why don't you just choose different family?"
Yep.
And I was like, what the hell do you mean? And like when I considered that, I was like, oh wow, like I could literally choose the family I wanted. And today, the family that I am around are in full support of who I am and what I do, and love me as I am. And really, and I think that I always refer back to that Will Smith story where he goes, look at the five top names on your WhatsApp. And if those people are fanning your flames, you keep them close. And if they're not, delete them off your phone, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's such even with family, it's so...
Even with family, yes. This is a weird discussion. And I think people resist it still because they don't understand, maybe. But we have to understand something about humans. And it's great if you were born into a family that supports you 100%, and it's, no family's perfect, this I know. But, if you have that, amazing.
Yeah, amazing, yeah. Then you're lucky, yeah.
It's important for people to understand, and I've had this question posed to me from a few friends, like, why do I make certain choices about my family? Not all families have supportive people in them. Families come in all sorts of dynamics. It's endless. You have, we need to bring a psychologist in for that one, because there's endless amounts of dynamics in families. But people also do have to understand, like, a lot of people walk away from their families for a lot of reasons. And also, you don't have to justify it. The only reason we feel like we have to justify it is because we've been brought up with this very staunch false belief that we need to love our family no matter what. They can do whatever they want to us, but we just need to forgive, forgive, forgive. And unfortunately, that's not an accurate way that life goes. Like you said, we're all here individually, actually, and collectively, but we all have our own say, our own soul, our own free will. And our own free will can't be changed by anything. There is nothing, not even our good Lord above. That's why we were gifted with it, of course, if they wanted to. But nobody can really interfere with your free will. And I think there's a difference between being upset with your family, walking away, and being angry and then there's a difference when you make a choice for the goodness and the productiveness of your life, so that you can have a happy and joyous life. There's no point having family meetings and Christmases and birthdays and events, pretending to be happy, acting in this mode, when all you're feeling inside is devastation, that's a sign you should probably not be in the room. And you might want to go and select a few people in your life, or bring closer friends that you already have, that you really love, that support you. I mean, it is priceless to have people that support you in your work, in your life, in your endeavors. They don't question, why necessarily you're doing things, but they support you, and they trust that what you're doing is amazing. They know that you're amazing,
I remember when I first got married, my mother insisted that I invite my grandmother. And I was like, well, I'm not inviting her. She's not welcome to the wedding. I'm like, and my mother was like, well, if she's not going, then I'm not going. Then I'm like, well, then I'll send you pictures.
I'll see
You know?
that.
And she was so angry because she was like, it's my mother. My mother deserves. And I was like, no, I don't like your mother. She's not very nice to me. I don't want, I don't want her at my wedding. So, and I remember that. And I did that already in my 20s, where I was like, actually, it's not okay that you treat me badly. And, I was chatting to a colleague today, and she shares advice about what you allow, you teach.
Oh, 100%. Am I
And I was
learning
going,
that?
wait, and it's going to be reiterated this week on radio. And I'm like, it has to be, because what you allow, you teach. And I'm going, that is so true, because the more you sit up with it, the more you allow this, whatever this is, invariably it becomes part of your existence, your habit form processes, the way you do life. And because you do it, because you allow it, you eventually teach it, and it becomes part of the next sort of contact point.
Dialogue, it becomes part of your dialogue that you perpetuate. Exactly. Very interesting. Very interesting.
So the second thing they point out here is having fewer friends increases the likelihood that you'll take financial risks. And obviously they've done studies through that. And I must say, I'm not exactly sure why science would support that, but I kind of go, when you've got people you've carefully chosen to be around, people who like you, people who are supportive, people who drive that and help you drive that discipline in your world, suddenly you kind of narrow it down to people who are really the ones that you can lean on. And they are, they'll be there, encouraging you to take a risk, encouraging you to do something, to not be scared to do it, right? So I assume that would be the science behind it.
I mean, I think we can define friends from close friends from acquaintances, right? Because we have networks we call friends. I mean, I got friends all over the world. Do I talk to them every day? That would be virtually impossible to do. But we have agreements that when we see each other again, we interact on social media. It's like we saw each other yesterday. But those close friends, and I want to also just back up a second and say, this is all on top of your best friend who, it's so funny we're talking about this, because this morning I woke up and I thought, you know what, Lauren, I know who your best friend is. It's you. You are your best friend. Yes. And I love that, I love that I'm my own best friend. But I have a close group of friends that I know support me. There's a few in the outside group that don't, and I'm quite aware of that. Other things come up, and that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that having the close friends is a good idea, but something that should be supported as well, because that's a very important aspect to your life, to your work. It could take you in many different directions. But I think for those days when you're close at home and you're working from home and you're working in your hood and you're doing a thing, you need those close friends. Keeping in mind that you don't want to become codependent with your friends. You want to use them as individuals, not use them as people to hold you up permanently. That is a job that lies with each and every person. I have to wake up every morning and do what I have to do with my own mental strength. My girlfriends and my guy friends, they, however, I mean, as you guys know, every Wednesday morning, I go paddling with Eminem.
Yeah.
And, there we go. And we talk business. We share business. We share if we're winning. We share if we're losing. We share the stocks. We share work. We share our grievances, and they'll tell me, they'll give good criticism. They give bad criticism, or, good criticism and a little bit of what to do better. But I think that it's important to have both. I think if your circle is too tiny, but I also wouldn't see everybody as a family friend.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a reference that you need to consider, and like
Absolutely.
how are these people showing up in my life, and do they make me feel good? The third thing that they mention here is too many connections on social media may increase your stress levels. And I was
Hectic.
like, I got a lot of people on on social media, right? But to the point here, stress arises as people try to present a version of themselves online that will be acceptable to all their social media contacts. And that was such a big thing for me when I started, doing what I do for a living. Um, I was quite conscious about, like, who am I connected to? Why am I connected to you? And what does that mean? Right?
Mm,
Because it's so easy to present a version of yourself that is unbelievable, that doesn't have a bad day, that's you're just amazing, amazing, amazing. And I was going, well, if that to me feels really misaligned and very incongruent, and
yeah.
I'd be like, I don't want to present that version. So my intake on social media, or my presenting, it has really been aimed at, how can I just have a conversation that I would like to see on social media? So a lot of 98% of my social media is based in having what is great about the world, what is good about the world, what piques people interest, and sort
Right.
of cultivates in a bit of a different way.
Yeah. So you're
So,
navigating a dialogue that you find intriguing, and other people will find intriguing too.
but I can totally understand why it would create anxiety
It
when you're
does.
presenting a version of yourself,
It
right?
does. I mean, look, I've had this discussion in a few different ways, and I read the article that we're discussing, and you know, it's interesting because I slightly disagree with this. I agree with it in the sense that, listen, it's a challenge even for me to get my phone out of my face. Everything's on the phone. I've started writing my lists down, handwriting. I've gone back to handwriting because I can't keep staring at my phone for 12 hours a day. It's just not
Yeah.
effective, it's not productive. But why? Because social media, ding, 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 ding. I do think it's important to become more focused, right? So yes, maybe having less people in your connections. If you're not connecting with these people, why be connected? Especially in business. I think in the beginning of social media, it was like likes, 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 and everyone was like liking, 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 liking. Now we understand business is all about authenticity and becoming authentic in this world, because so much is going on that when you become authentic, people start relating to you. And I think for that, you can have as many connections as you want. But if you bring in some discipline with the connections, who to follow, who not to follow, mute a couple of people that, you haven't spoken to for a while. You don't have to unfriend your whole world, but definitely bring it into focus. Doesn't mean that if you're muting people and unfollowing that you don't want to talk to them. It just means that you don't want to see, you're just focused on this for now. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think narrowing it down, LinkedIn is a really good example. I mean, if I get one more, I think out of all the messages I get on LinkedIn, one might have actually meant something to me.
Yeah.
I look at the people that like me because I'm a photographer. Everyone thinks, every editor on the planet has text messaged me on LinkedIn. And so it's time consuming to interact with people where you actually happen to know outright that there's probably nothing going to go, nothing's going to go on there. So it takes away from the focus for sure. And I do think that there are pros and cons about the showing your life though on Instagram. I mean, go and look at my life. It's perfect on Instagram. But I will say that I am still being authentic. I'm not me personally, because I'm not selling on my personal Instagram and even on my business, Lauren Bridge Photography. I'm always authentic. I try to be as authentic as possible. I'm always showing what we're currently doing or where I'm currently at. But my challenge was this for people. Do you really want me to show you the rest of my personal life? Do you really want me to tell you I've tested the waters. When I put something out that's personal or measures some or shows levels of vulnerability, people fade off. When I'm just happy, joyful in my moment, oh, look at this beautiful ocean, everyone's like, oh my gosh, so beautiful. So really, I think people don't want to hear your drama. And why should they on social media? So they do this thing where they're like, oh, you're showing a perfect life. But the minute you put something more than happy out, then they're like, I don't want to hear your drama. So which one is it? You want to hear it or don't you want to hear it? So I think it really depends on the person. It's all up to you what you want to share in your life. What's important to you.
But also from your entry point, I think it's the consideration is also branding, and how do you show a brand, and what is the creative entry point to this. And I think social media has migrated a lot to, specifically now with 2020, how that really shows up for people, because it becomes your immediate representation on who you are, how you show up. The first thing that people do when they want to find out who you are, they literally go to Google and they go, here's your name, and what comes up. So if you're not aware maybe of what your brand is, what you as a person is showcasing, that might be a falter. But but it's an interesting question to kind of pose. Like, if you have too much, or if you create a false version of yourself on people that you're connected to, like, then you've got to keep it up, right? And it's like, that can be stressful.
I think people do that, and that is stressful. That's very stressful. That's a full-time job, actually.
Another stat that they have here, another point that they raise, is close friends could be the secret to longevity. When older adults have close confidence or confidants, they're likely to live longer, according to a study that they did. And I do think, there's some Asian countries where people live to the age of the ripe old age of 110 or whatever. And one of the studies show that, a large part of what they accredit that to is having really close relationships, and they feel part of a networked group. And it might just be 5 people, whatever the case, but because of that support structure and that connection that they have to people, it really points to longer living life.
I think having people in your life, they carry part of your load of life. They encourage, they bring joy. When you have friends, especially close knit of friends, you got birthdays, you got gatherings, you got all sorts of events going on. You can only imagine that level of participation and happiness, that's generated from that. And also business. My friends and I help each other a great deal in business and in life. So again, they're not mutually exclusive anymore for us, but we're always adding value in this way. So I'll do something, and my friend who owns her company will be like, oh wow, maybe I should try that. And I'm like, yes, I think you should. Or she'll say to me, listen, I tried the CPA. You have got to go and hire this guy. He will be perfect for you. She knows me. She knows him. She's put it together for me. I pop up, and I didn't have to do any work. That gives me less wrinkles. So I was just, I I do. I think if we had to, it's probably very all over the place and difficult to track. But if you had to think about all the amazing things that friends offer in life and you offer them, you're sharing. You're sharing your world, your things, your experiences. You have someone to talk to when, the going gets rough. That's very, very helpful. And I think that they carry the load for you there as well. So when you have friends, I think at all times, you're probably sharing each other's worlds so you don't feel so burdened by your own life, So I think it's definitely a true one. I'm going to say yes on that one for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I have friendships that I've had for sure probably the last 12 years, where we don't see each other every week. We don't speak every week. But there are moments where I can go, damn, I just so need to speak to Jen today. And like, I'll pick up the phone and I'll speak to her, and we can speak for an hour, and we'll spend really good quality time together. But it's always that conversation that I needed to have, and that's always there. And vice versa, we've always just been able to be there for each other. But I think those really make a big difference to your sanity, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have friends. I've been here, 15 years now, October, 15 years. Yay, cheers. 15 years. So, I mean, I have friends in South Africa that are still my best friends. They're still my best friends in the world. I don't know how to replace these girls. They're young guys. They're amazing people. And I don't know how we've done it, but we're still close. That's how we've done it. I guess our connection is more than distance. But that's why as well, there's people that will be out there and there's people that will be on your doorstep close. And now with social media, we can talk, we can video. I mean, you can be anywhere in the world in 20 seconds through a video. So I do think,
social, this is what happened for you and I. Like we've spoken, but now look at us, right?
Right, here we are chatting on the regular.
And the last point that they raise here is friends can greatly influence your choices. And I'm like, that's quite a significant one, because I think I've had some friends, and then I kind of step back and I go, I've often had moments when you go, you sort of spend time with these people, and then you get home and you go, wow, I feel really empty. I feel like that was an empty moment. And because I do what I do today, I cherish my time like it's gold. Like, like if I share it with you, you must know it matters, because it's really important to kind of wrap your brain around, like, the importance of what you're bringing to this moment, and what they bring into that moment. And I also seek that out with people. I want to seek out people who are giving from a good, honest, golden space, really. Like, it just feels warm and fuzzy. And like, when you do that, then I'm kind of going, yeah, I want to spend more time with that. But that also influences how I make the choices in my life. And so, you referred earlier to choosing your clients and choosing, it really starts honing in how you make choices, because I think I've used friends as sort of measurements of going, am I making good choices here?
That's a good measurement, actually.
Yeah.
I think some people, and I know for myself, I've always been prior the kind of person who just makes friends. It's like, hey, come, let's all go. Like, I was just, all right, everyone's my friend.
And you're lovely. Yeah, exactly.
I was just friends with everybody. But what I realized was that was steeped in a belief and an issue of wanting to be seen.
Yeah.
And when I dealt with the wanting to be seen, I can look in the mirror every morning. I can see myself. I can realize myself. And I have other close people around me to realize me as well. But I started then when I went into business. And this is why I think what they're saying here is so important. And go Forbes, leave the best for last, right? It's so important to know where you stand with your friends. I think I know in my world, I've waned from the let's be friends with everybody, and I've become so selective of my friendships that that I'm just not like that anymore. Is it a bad way to be? I don't think it's a terrible way to be. I mean, I had a great time with all my friends, but you know, where are all those friends? Only a minute portion of those people are still around. And now I'm more focused on who's actually with me right now, who is supporting my life. When things go bad, when people pass, when the dog dies, who's going to be there to support me? Who wants to pick up my phone call at that point? And I'd say that, how do you gauge this? Like you said earlier, you go out to a friend's party or wherever, to their house, to dinner, and you come home and you just feel empty. And like I've often gone to friends and I've come home and I've said to my partner, Christian, I said, you know, I feel like Rent-A-Crowd.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was that person, friends with everybody, fun. And then I'd get invited to parties for that reason, because I'm fun, right? But that was that was the level it was at. It was shallow. It was actually quite shallow. And when I started looking for deeper connections, I realized that a lot of my friends in that environment couldn't access those deeper feelings. And therefore, we couldn't connect on the level of intimate, you know, as in close friendship, you know. And that has been eye-opening, unbelievably eye-opening. I don't have anything against anyone. I just know what's right for me. And if I come home from a party and I feel bad and I can't pick up the phone and talk to you about it, if I feel that I can't talk to you about it, then I reevaluate the friendship. You may just end up being a good time friend, and then I'm aware of that. So I don't have greater expectations.
Yeah.
But I definitely, you know, I wouldn't think of them first when it came to the things that were really close in my life. It's weird. And also friends, you know, they serve at different times. We serve people at different times. You know, the person that you've been hanging with for the last 10 years might not be in service for the next 10. And how do friendships end? The way things end, generally in chaos. So not all chaos and friends leaving is a bad thing. If your friend is ghosting you, maybe this is not a bad thing. You know, if you need to get out of a friendship, maybe you need to start thinking about it. If you're hanging out with people and you don't feel good about yourself afterwards, get out of that space. I would definitely recommend getting out of that space as soon as possible. Because, you know, you're entitled to it as well. You're entitled to be happy.
But on that note, as you're talking, one of the things that's been quite a significant point to me, I always thought there was something wrong with me. I always thought that, you know, like you'd go out and you'd be fun, and then you'd want that connection. You want, you know, the reciprocation of, like, let's connect. And the moments like I wasn't receiving connection with people, I was going, oh, so there must be something wrong with me. What's wrong with me, right? And the moment I kind of realized, oh wait, like there's nothing wrong with me. Like it really comes down, and this has been a couple of years already, like where I've actually started practicing that kind of belief, where you're kind of going, if you're not ready to have that level of conversation or that level of connection with me, that means you're not ready. Like, there's something wrong with me.
Some people are still dealing, lots of people, most people are still dealing, all people are dealing with their issues on some level. But when you run business, you run through those levels quickly. You do. Faster, at a faster pace. So, you know, you're right. I think, you know, humans have to connect. We are made of pure energy and stardust. Like we have to connect with other people. And it can be, I don't think we can live in isolation. I think people pass on when they're just really, really disconnected from the rest of the world. They'll go earlier. I think that these connections can be so amazing, but it's an important thing to be able to tell when your connection has come to an end. Doesn't mean because you're having a struggle that you've ended. I mean, I have friends, we have struggles, and I'll call her and I'll say, listen, let's sort this stuff out. Sorry, beep. But, you know, I have other friends that I've been friends with for over a decade, and I can't pick up the phone and talk to them. So it's why? Because somewhere there's no space for the conversation. So I think it's important to look at your friendships, definitely to just see who are you surrounding yourself with in your friendships, in your world, in business, when you go out on a Friday night. Also, family. If you have a hardcore family that is difficult and it's just tough, you have to start putting yourself first. If you want a good, successful life, you don't have a choice. And you don't need to take it from me. Ask any coach, any psychologist, any brain practitioner, any doctor. They will tell you the same thing. I think 100 people told me that before I realized it.
Doing it, and that's what I was just about to end of today's conversation. I was just going to go. So, why do you think this is important to why is this conversation important to have? And I think it's really a lot of people are just you know, from a distance you can sort of recognize how people just kind of they get into a rut of that's the usual thing to do and that's how they do whatever they do, and they don't just stop and kind of go, what am I doing here? Like, what choices am I making? How am I making these choices? Like, how is this showing up in my world? And what part am I playing as part of this equation? That's the difficult conversation to have. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily want to have that conversation with themselves, but it's an essential conversation to have. It's like,
I think so.
You're part of that equation. Like, you put yourself there. How are you changing it? Or what difficult conversation or questions are you starting to ask yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think humans have been trained to be reactive or, you know, in this world or whatever this illusion is, but it's powerful when you move from the reactive to the proactive. That is an extremely powerful shift in existence.
Yeah.
Because that's when you start taking control of your own life. And, you know, I just want to say something that comes up. Like, if you find yourself having a hard time with a friend, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I hate you, and she's a this and that and that and that and that. And that's the only way to justify leaving somebody. But also to try not to do that, you know, to try to focus on forward. You know, why is this happening? Try to be peaceful if one can, and just move towards your goal, you know, in a peaceful manner. And I just think that, you know, it doesn't have to get ugly. So how you feel is so important. It's extremely important, navigation. And the why is definitely because if you want a good life, if you're wondering why you're struggling and you feel behind and you're stuck, it still happens in life now. If you're proactive, it just doesn't happen as much. Proactivity relieves so much stress from a person's life. Proactivity helps you reach your goals so much quicker. Proactivity will put you in front of the right people. If you take this moment, like you say, everyone's just going, stop before the universe stops you, because when the universe stops you, it's normally like running into a brick wall. So try to stop one moment. Take an hour, switch your phone off, and just sit and think to yourself. Pull in a list of names, write down a list of names of the people in your family and your friends, that the 10 people closest to you that you talk to every day, and start writing down, how does this person make me feel? How do I feel when I'm around this person? That's all, just feelings. And we're not talking about, you know, I hate this person. Okay, if you're writing that down, then you really need to understand something different, because
do it now.
you need to shift now.
Yes.
But write it down and just do an experiment. You might be surprised what comes to the forefront of your mind. You might actually realize, screw this. I'm going to take control of my life. And these people are either going to get boundaries, toe the line, start supporting me, or I'm going to start finding people who will. And that's, that's that, because you're not going to do it any other way. We don't do this alone. We don't. We do it with people that are amazing human beings, nevertheless, but ones that are in support and ones that walk that path with us. So, and that's amazing. That is an amazing friend to have as a family member.
So, Lals, on the closing statement, why? I mean, I know we sort of covered everything right now, but we covered a lot. But like, what is your closing statement on why is it important to really choose your friends?
One thing I really want humans to understand is that they are important. They are so, so important. I can't stress how important they are. Like, it actually makes me a little teary-eyed, because I see people that are just kind of going through life and they don't realize how important they are. And the reason I stress that point is that you're so important. You want to take control of your life. Be proactive. So my one-liner would be, if you don't take control of your life, nobody will. Nobody. And taking control starts with seeing who you are around and how they make you feel. Start doing the audit, the life and the business audit on your 100%.
Friends. Yeah, I agree. I think if it's a lesson that I take with a coaching process or a business process or a team performance, like it always comes back to the importance of self. The moment you get your brain wrapped around it, people respond differently. Like, things start changing, life starts changing. So absolutely, 100%. Make good choices about the friends, about the people you spend time with.
Surround yourself with good people, for sure.
If we want to get hold of you, where do we go? Tell us. Tell people.
If you want to get hold of me, we use a lot of these lovely processes and things we talk about during our branding experience when we get to know you, to create beautiful imagery for our clients. And we're definitely niching into the world of photographing commercial architects and their work, and the architects in their environments. But we also focus on business people. So if anyone wants to get hold of me, you can totally do that. I'm on Facebook, where you can get hold of me on WhatsApp there. I'm on Instagram, always ready at the helm on that one. And of course, www.laurenbritsphotography.com. That's probably one of the best places to get me. You can actually go there, get yourself a 30-minute consultation booked, and I'd be happy to talk to you about whatever's going on in your business branding, what you need for your marketing, and how to put yourself out there and surround yourself with great people, for sure.
Absolutely. And obviously, I always mention to everyone, if anyone wants to get hold of me, they can just type my name into Google. That often comes up as a hashtag. So hashtag Kevin Brits or hashtag lunchtime coaching. businessbydesign.co.za and or leadershipbydesign.co. Lance, thanks so much. That was
Thank
so
you
much
so
fun.
much. Wish us luck for this week and next. And
so I think next week we're definitely going to be chatting about more what is happening in the US. But we'll chat about it and we'll tell everybody. We'll have some interesting conversations to come up. Lauren, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Week.
It's night, yes. But and you, and I will chat to you later.
See you later, Kev.
Chat to you later.
Chat
Bye.
soon.